Some of these Soviet planes were tiny, old, or just plain weird, but they ended up changing the skies of World War II from nimble biplanes and fearless gliders to the infamous armored flying tanks. Starting off with fighters and interceptors, Polikarpov I-5 entered the Second World War already a relic. Designed in the early 1930s, this open-cockpit biplane with fixed landing gear was borderline obsolete by 1941. Yet in the desperate early months of the German invasion, Soviet forces had no choice but to use them as makeshift night bombers. Polikarpov I-15, affectionately nicknamed Chato, saw fierce air battles during the Spanish Civil War. By the start of World War II, it had been pushed to secondary roles like pilot training and guarding coastlines, but its reputation as a scrappy, robust little aircraft endured. Polikarpov I-153 Cheka, or Seagull, was among the final combat biplanes ever used effectively in battle. Despite its outdated appearance, this nimble and agile craft was deadly in low-altitude dogfights and remained viable well into 1942. Polikarpov I-16, commonly called Ishak, or Little Donkey, was short, rugged, and surprisingly fast. It served as the Soviet Union's main fighter in 1941 and took severe losses, yet its durability earned the respect of pilots flying outnumbered missions against better-equipped foes. MiG-1 represented an early Soviet attempt to build a high-speed, high-altitude interceptor. Plagued by instability and difficult controls, the aircraft struggled in combat and was soon succeeded by a better performer. MiG-3 corrected many of the MiG-1's flaws, although it remained challenging to fly. At altitudes above 15,000 feet, its capabilities truly shined, often intercepting enemy reconnaissance aircraft and helping to defend major Soviet cities. La GG-3 earned the nickname Lacquered Guaranteed Coffin due to its lack of power, excessive weight, and poor climb rate. Early pilots had little faith in it, but upgrades eventually made it more reliable and versatile in combat roles. Lavachkin La-5 marked a dramatic step forward. Designers replaced the La GG-3's underperforming engine with a robust radial engine, transforming it into a nimble and fast frontline fighter that helped turn the tide in air battles. Lavachkin La-7 is often regarded as the top Soviet piston-engine fighter of the whole war. Agile, fast, and heavily armed, it was flown by leading Soviet aces and posed a direct threat to even the best German fighters of its time. Yakovlev Yak-1 was a balanced and reliable fighter that laid the foundation for many subsequent Yak models. Its forgiving flight characteristics and ease of production made it ideal for the mass mobilization of the Soviet Air Force. Yakovlev Yak-3 earned a fearsome reputation in low-altitude combat. Light on weight but heavy on firepower, it could outmaneuver most adversaries, forcing the Luftwaffe to instruct their pilots to avoid prolonged dogfights with it. Yakovlev Yak-7 began life as a trainer, but proved so capable that it was quickly reconfigured as a frontline fighter. Its robust design, tandem seating, and ease of maintenance made it well-suited to the demands of wartime flying. Yakovlev Yak-9 was produced in greater numbers than any other Soviet fighter. Versatile and easy to modify, it served multiple roles including escort missions, low-level attacks, and even anti-tank duties, proving invaluable across different fronts. Ground attack. Ilyushin IL-2, known as the Sturmovik, earned legendary status as a low-flying armored attacker. The entire design revolved around shielding the pilot with thick armor, making it nearly impervious to small arms fire and feared wherever it appeared. Sukhoi Su-2 was a light bomber based on a reconnaissance aircraft prototype. While it fought valiantly in the early months of the war, heavy losses forced its withdrawal in favor of heavier, more heavily protected bombers. Ilyushin IL-10 followed up on the IL-2's success, combining armored protection with a more aerodynamic frame. It offered better speed and mobility, and became essential in the final pushes into enemy territory across Eastern Europe and Asia. By the way, which of these Soviet aircraft do you think was the most underrated or surprisingly effective? Drop your pick in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into World War II aviation, don't forget to give it a like and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Light/night bombers and trainers. Polikarpov Poe, lovingly known as the Kukuruznik or crop duster, became iconic for its role in night harassment raids, most famously flown by the Night Witches. Its slow speed and wooden frame made it nearly silent, yet it could drop bombs with shocking precision. Polikarpov R-1 was modeled after the British DH-9A and had become outdated by World War II's outbreak. It briefly returned to service in secondary roles like training and courier runs during the period of rapid mobilization. Polikarpov R-5 served as a rugged multi-role utility plane. Though primarily built for reconnaissance and aerial photography, it occasionally flew bombing runs in the chaotic opening stages of the German invasion. Polikarpov RZ updated the R-5's design with a more streamlined airframe and an enclosed cockpit. Though it never became a mainstay, it contributed to light ground attack and observation duties leading up to and during the early war period. Yakovlev UT-1 played a specific role as a single-seat trainer. It helped familiarize pilots with monoplane configurations and higher speed performance, serving as a crucial transition step before combat deployment. Yakovlev UT-2 became the cornerstone of Soviet flight instruction. With its tandem seats and simple controls, it introduced thousands of aspiring aviators to the fundamentals, building the ranks of fighter squadrons that would defend the homeland. Yakovlev Yak-6 was a lightweight twin-engine transport aircraft primarily made of wood. Its small size and flexibility made it invaluable for delivering crucial cargo and personnel to frontline units amid ever-changing battlefield conditions. Frontline/dive bombers. Petlyakov P-2 proved itself as the Soviet Union's most effective light bomber. Fast and capable of impressive dive bombing accuracy, it was difficult for early Luftwaffe fighters to catch and served consistently throughout the war. Petlyakov P-3 was a night fighter adaptation of the P-2. Outfitted with enhanced armament and reconnaissance cameras, it dealt with incoming air threats and conducted long-range surveillance missions deep behind enemy lines. Arkhangelski R-2 modernized the aging SB bomber family. It featured improved aerodynamics and could dive bomb with better accuracy, but its brief frontline service was soon eclipsed by more advanced designs like the P-2. Tupolev Tu-2 stood as one of the best medium bombers produced during the war. Though its introduction was delayed, it quickly filled an important role as a fast, reliable, and high-capacity craft by the later stages of the conflict. Medium, long-range, and heavy bombers. Ilyushin DB-3 was the primary long-range bomber available to the Soviets before the outbreak of war. It laid the foundation for the more famous IL-4 and was capable of reaching targets deep inside occupied Europe. Tupolev SB had been among the most advanced light bombers anywhere on Earth in the mid-1930s. However, by 1941, its speed and defensive capabilities faltered against modern fighters, leading to significant losses in its remaining operational use. Yermolov U-2 was crafted as a high-altitude long-range bomber. Troubled by unreliable engines, its limited availability didn't stop it from supporting some of the Soviet Union's earliest bombing raids on Berlin. Petlyakov P-8 was the only operational four-engine Soviet heavy bomber used during World War II. It handled rare but strategically important long-distance missions and served as a high-profile symbol of Soviet aerospace strength. Tupolev TB-3 was a massive, high-wing four-engine biplane that first flew in the 1930s. Although hopelessly outdated by World War II, it saw duty as a night bomber and was even used uniquely to carry other aircraft into combat during special experiments. Tupolev TB-1 was a twin-engine monoplane bomber from an earlier era. By the time of the German invasion, it was no longer suited for frontline work and was reassigned to secondary support and transport operations. Reconnaissance. Yakovlev Yak-1R was a recon variant of the reliable Yak-1 fighter, adapted to carry internal cameras instead of armament. Its speed and agility allowed it to slip through enemy defenses and gather battlefield intelligence. Yakovlev Yak-9R modified the Yak-9 to specialize in forward tactical reconnaissance. Outfitted for quick, high-stakes photography missions, it played an essential role in orchestrating the Red Army's mobile offensives. Yakovlev Yak-9DD was the long-range cousin of the Yak-9 series. The DD referred to long-distance action, and this version helped provide support to Allied bomber escorts by operating across great distances late in the war. Petlyakov P-2R was a surveillance-focused model of the P-2 bomber. It replaced most of its bombs with photographic gear, emphasizing speed and stealth over firepower during deep reconnaissance runs. Naval aircraft and seaplanes. Bravery MBR-2 was a bulky flying boat nicknamed Sea Cow. Though inelegant, it reliably conducted maritime patrols and anti-submarine operations over vast stretches of Soviet-controlled waters. Bravery KOR-1 was a float plane designed for shipboard catapult launches. With its small fuselage and short range, it primarily served aboard battleships and cruisers as an eye in the sky for naval operations. Bravery KOR-2 improved upon the earlier model with better speed, strength, and endurance. It became a standard tool for artillery spotting and naval scouting missions during coastal operations. Chedivnikov MDR-6 was a modern-looking flying boat with twin engines and sleek lines. Quick and reliable, it played an essential part in patrolling remote northern and Pacific shores. Shavrov SH-2 was an amphibious biplane that performed countless behind-the-scenes duties. Whether acting as a medical evacuation craft or a liaison courier, it proved invaluable in isolated wartime locations. Transports and utility. Lisanov Li-2 was Moscow's licensed version of the Douglas DC-3, adapted for colder climates and military use. Its versatility made it indispensable for airborne resupply and troop transport missions across the Soviet front lines. Tupolev PS-84 initially carried the DC-3 name before being redesignated as the Li-2. It kicked off mass transport operations for the Soviet military and became a durable workhorse throughout the war. Sherbakov SHG-2 was a lesser-known utility plane built for rugged performance on unpaved airstrips. Designed to operate in frontline conditions, it became a lifeline for logistics in contested areas. Gliders. Antonov A-7 was a medium-sized military glider engineered to deliver troops and supplies directly into combat zones. Often towed by outdated bombers, it helped arm partisan groups and support covert missions. Grabovsky G-11 was a simple, wooden small glider created for quick, hidden supply drops. Lightweight and easy to build, it became a quiet ally for Soviet guerrilla resistance units operating far behind enemy lines. That wraps up our journey through every Soviet aircraft used in World War II. Some legendary, some forgotten, but all part of a remarkable legacy. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more deep dive content, and let me know in the comments which aircraft you'd want to see featured next. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring history from above.